Hey, and welcome in to another edition of Big Men on Basketball. It is Friday, ending the week here on a high note, February 24th, 2023. I'm your host, Big Man on Campus, Jeff Nadu. We're back. I'm all over. I'm jumbled today. We're back, ending the week out, and we got an actually decent college hoops card tonight as we head into really the last week of February into the month of March, the magical month of March. We got Kelly in Vegas back. Kelly, we're starting a little late today. Some other shows don't know that we have a show, I guess. I don't know.
We're remote. We're just not as important.
Yeah.
All jokes aside, it was a soccer show, so that's why I retweeted. No one cares about soccer because every once in a while I like to rouse some people and just see if I can get some people fired up. I'm a button pusher. I know billions of people watch the sport. Okay, I get it's the most popular sport in the world, just not here in America. So
Well, listen, I watch soccer. I don't mind soccer. I bet soccer. That said, look, they do the show, I think, once a week. So maybe they didn't know, but it is what it is. I'm really just messing with them. We're all just messing with them in the end. But we're live. Okay. Weren't here yesterday, but we're back today. Before we do anything, we'll be live tomorrow. Me, Kelly, and Megan talking hoops on Twitter Spaces. So if you're not following us, I don't know what you're doing, but make sure you go follow us. That way you get familiarized that we are live at 11 a.m. on Saturday. Kelly, so tonight's card's pretty good. Obviously, listen, I'm just going to address the elephant in the room right out of the gate. All right, I went out on a date last night. I don't even think it was a date.
I was going to say, was it a date? I didn't
No,
get that
it was just
formal.
two. I know Rochelle. Her and I've known each other for a while.
Okay.
She was in town, and she mentioned last week that she was probably going to be there. She had questioned whether she was going to be there or not, but she ended up coming. I said,
Okay.
"Yo, I have a connect. I can get us tickets. You want to go?" She's like, "Yeah, absolutely." So we went to the game. That was that. I mean, it wasn't anything more than that. I don't know if some people know this, but Kelly, we know a lot of people. I mean, we know a lot of people in different industries. I knew you before Barstool. You know me before Barstool. I knew Big Cat before Bar. Like, we all know each other in a way. And she was in town. I thought, F it, we'll go to the game, and it was a
Like
great
a great
game.
time. Yeah.
Might have been the best NBA game of the season. So
I love that for you guys. She looks
we had a good
great
time.
as usual. I love the trash talking of Frank because Frank needs a little rousing every once in a while.
Well, we went to casino after, and
Ooh.
we were just hanging out, and she mentioned that about Frank, and I kind of forgot about it, but it was a good, kind of just breaking balls. But no, she's great. She's a beautiful woman, and we had a good time together. She's also super cool, so it was fun. So, all right, let's get into it. How'd you do last night, by the way?
It was one of those weird nights. So I put out a parlay yesterday. For a Thursday, I really liked the card. I ended up off of Michigan because our good friend Chris Castellani said, "Hey, I just got a text. I can't tell you from who, but Jet's going to be out." And I'm like, "Shit, okay, fine." And then we knew that Rutgers is missing one of their key guys. And I was just like, you know what? Let me just stay off this game. You and I have beaten a dead horse talking about home teams, particularly in the Big 12. Of course, Michigan puts on a clinic in the second half. And I'm just kicking myself. The one game that I also
What a
thought about
hideous
playing.
game, by the way.
Oh, yeah, it was gross. But I still was just frustrating from a point. Penn State did what I thought they would do, and that was Ohio State would beat themselves. It wasn't a bet on Penn State. It was a bet against Ohio State. Hey, congrats to Penny Hardaway. He made me look like a jackass on TikTok. They ended up beating the Shockers in Wichita, Coke Arena, and he didn't outcoach himself. So good for him. And then Utah got the cover on the 7 or push, depending on when you bet it. It pretty much closed 7.5 across the board, but hopefully you guys got the hook. I did not. Utah was never really in it. I thought that they would have a chance since the last time their big man, the 7-foot-tall Brendan, he didn't play the last time these two teams met, and I thought he was going to make a significant difference. He didn't have a bad game. He didn't bully them down low like I thought he would, and overall, 1-1-1. And obviously the parlay lost, but it's a longer shot parlay for a reason.
I had Wichita as well. It's, just one of those spots where I'm going to be on it. I also said Gonzaga over. I've been betting that. That continues to come in.
Yes, it does.
By the way, I don't know if anyone's noticing, but they're like an NBA offense right now. They're still the best offense in America. That one. And then I had I said the Sixers. I don't bet a lot of NBA, but I played the Sixers, and I was able to get the job done with it. I also had what was the other game I had? South Dakota State team total over, which pushed. They shot the ball well. They were good offensively. The pace just wasn't there in the game. I mean, UMKC had 50 points, so that kind of tells you what the pace was in the game.
Yep.
So, by the way, also Kelly. So team total was 73. South Dakota State had 69 points with 4 minutes to go. Probably should have won.
Dreadful, but it's like they were probably dribbling it out, taking their time, walking it down I mean, we've all seen it. Whenever you have an over, that's the last thing you want to see. You want to see foul, like last 3 minutes, you want to see a ton of fouls, hearing that whistle, getting to the line, bullying guys down low. You want to see them finish it out. When you have a double-digit lead like that and you just say, you know it's coming too.
Well, the thing was, I heard someone I didn't watch it because I was at the game, but someone told me that the kid that got it to 73 was like a walk-on and got to the free throw line.
Wow.
So, he made 2 free throws. So shout out to that kid, whoever it was.
Yes, whoever he was. Thank you.
Yeah. So
doing the Lord's work.
I'll take a push, even though I should have won, but it is what it is. All right. Also, again, the continued Amish talk. Guys, I'm not Amish. It's all a joke.
Who started that?
Well, I think it's actually something I've heard my whole life.
Just because you grew up in proximity to where a significant amount of Amish population is?
The city that I live in a county, Lancaster County. It's directly west of Philadelphia. And we have one of the larger in the county Amish populations in America, right? So the thing is, a lot of people don't understand, and I've tried telling you, and I'm actually doing some content with some people from Barstool about this. We're going to kind of explore Lancaster and show that it's not just
horses and buggies.
Yeah, it's actually like a legit city. And I could be honest, Kelly, I can't tell you the last time I saw an Amish person. And
I see Amish people every day down here in Florida because they retired down here. We've talked about it. And guess what? Every single one of them has an electric bicycle or a three-wheel bicycle. They're not rolling down the street in a horse and buggy.
No, and the thing is, they all it's a big touristy area where I live, where they are, and that's 20 miles away from where I live. The only time I see Amish, if I'm being real, is down in the city where I live in the center of the city. We have it's just like a big like a co-op where tons of people have different little stands, and several of them
almost
have
a farmer's market, if you will.
Yes, right. Some of them have donuts, baked goods, meats, different little baskets and things like that.
I'm not gonna lie, it's some of the best. I go buy every time I make a cheese board, I go buy jellies from them. Yeah. They make their own butter. That's where I buy my butter for my house down here. I have convinced my dad, who's not supposed to be eating very much sugar because he's a diabetic, that I will bring him every time I come up, as long as he doesn't go buy gas station Twinkies, I will bring him up really good Amish baked goods.
Yeah, they have, and that's one thing they're known for, their food. They have great, really. It's funny too, because my father is in construction. Some of his subcontractors are Amish because they do a bunch of framing and building stuff.
Have you? Well, yes, you have. But if people in the comments, have you guys seen some of the woodworking these people have done? Yeah. And I'm talking magnificent pieces, and they obviously go for thousands and thousands of dollars because they're worth it. They're solid wood. They're not this cheap crap that everybody buys anymore.
I'll tell you one thing. And I don't know if anyone's ever seen this. I've seen it once with my own eyes. Have you ever seen them? So when someone in that community, let's say, has an unfortunate event like a fire or something, they essentially all band together and help that family out, right? So they'll go over and they'll put a barn up in 4 or 5 hours. It's crazy. I love that. If everyone's ever seen the movie Witness, that's very real.
Witness, I'll have to check it out.
It's a great it was filmed in this area. They all get together, 50, 100 of them, and they push this barn up in literally 4 or 5 hours.
That's crazy. But it's nice because those sense of community really doesn't exist as much anymore, and it's unfortunate.
No. And by the way, I live here. I live here, dude. I live in the city. I don't see Amish, brother. You probably live in Kansas. How would you know?
I live in Kansas, and we had Mennonites in Kansas, which were our version of the Amish. And then when my dad lived in Montana, they had what were they called? Hooterites is what they were called. And they were basically like Canadian Amish.
Yep. They're everywhere. Amish are
Yeah.
everywhere now. It's just we're known for, for a big group. But like I said, I live in the city part. I don't really ever see them. Now, if I go out 20 miles and I want to get some whoopie pies, they got me covered. All right. So let's get into some games tonight. If anybody has any questions, you're welcome to ask. I got a few that I want to talk about here. First one, A10, which is a tough conference to bet on. You got a city rivalry here. This is actually a big-time rivalry in Richmond. You got Richmond University against VCU. They're within, I believe, 7 or 8 miles away. It's kind of like Duke Carolina light. I also liken it to like Xavier Cincinnati, that kind of matchup. I like VCU. I've said before, I think this is the best team in this conference. Defensively, they're really good, as usual, causing a lot of havoc. Great guard play. Mike Rhodes is doing a good job down there. I will admit, I thought this number was a bit high, if I'm being real. I think the problem with Richmond right now, though, is it's kind of a weird situation. Their coach is out due to a heart procedure, so we hope. And by the way, Kelly, a lot of people don't know this. Chris Mooney, the coach at Richmond, said, I interviewed him one time. You know what he said about me? I was listing all these teams off, and he goes, wow, he goes, you really know your basketball. And I said, thanks, Chris. Coming from you, that means a lot. Yes. But yeah, I hope he gets well. So he's a good guy. But yeah, I thought this number was a tick high, at least on a Friday night. 2 really good teams, in particular VCU. I don't know if we would call Richmond a really good team, but they're always a team that's solid, kind of a mid tier, kind of top 150 team, always good in the A10. And you look at some of the things they do, Kelly, in minds of backing a dog here. They don't turn a ball over, pretty decent shooting team, and they really make their free throws. First game, lost by 12 in VCU. This game's back at home tonight, I believe. I could be wrong. But either way, I don't really put a ton of stock into the home atmosphere because it's close. You're going to have some fans, I think, from both. Line was 9.5. It's down to 9. I think people agree that the number's a tick high. And I think 90% of the actual money in this game is being wagered on Richmond, which tends to make me believe this game's probably played, 77, 72, something like that. I lean Richmond here.
As somebody who, prior to talking about this game, Jeff, frankly, could not have named a player on either team. The A10 is just not a conference that I follow. You're absolutely right. Follow the line movement. And let's look, 74-62 loss in Richmond, right? If you're not paying attention to geography and listening to Jeff or just using Google Maps, you might not know how close proximity these two are and think that there's maybe a little bit more of a home court or not. So they're going to look at the last time they played and say, oh, well, they won by 12 in Richmond. How are they not going to win at 9 by home? Listen, I don't think I necessarily want to back Richmond here, but I can see exactly why everybody's rushing to the window to back VCU, and the sharp guys are on the other side.
Yeah, this isn't necessarily, like I said, I think there's been better Richmond teams. And I think the thing about Mooney that he kind of had to deal with this year is, these teams every 3 or 4 years, they undergo a big change because a lot of the kids graduate all the same year. And that's exactly what happened last year. He lost 3 or 4 of his top guys. And there was a couple kids coming out of the off the bench and they're doing their thing. I'll admit, though, I think it's also important to say, I think Richmond has the best player in Burton. Burton is a really good player. So for me, I think this one to me still is a bit high. I'd put it closer to 6 personally. So I'm going to lean on the Spiders. By the way, Kelly, trivia question.
Okay.
The character Spider, what mafia movie was he in?
God. Okay. So full disclosure, anything pop culture, anything movie related, I am terrible. I honestly don't know, but let's just throw out a layup. Let's just say Casino.
Goodfellas.
Goodfellas. That would have been my second guess.
Spider was a character based on a real person who was a gopher, if you will, for the mafia. Okay. He was, a driver. He got drinks for people, stuff like that. And he, at one point, made a comment to a individual that was very high up in that group, and the individual shot him in the head, essentially.
Lojo wants to know really quick. I know I'm supposed to stay out of the comments because I comment too much. Why I didn't know Brandon Miller, excuse me, was one of the top 5 draft picks because I'm not paying attention to the NBA draft. That's why.
Listen, Lojo, I'm just weird. I know that kind of stuff. A lot of people don't, though.
I don't care about the NBA draft, especially not in mid-February. Is he a great player? Absolutely. But would I have said that he was the top 5 in the NBA draft? To me, that's a coin flip question. I haven't done my research on it.
Blojo, I'll just tell you this: and I'm telling you, the top gamblers in the country
don't care.
I don't think could tell you one college basketball player in America. Okay,
nope.
They just don't. And again, I know. That's why I like dealing with Kelly, because Kelly kind of knows kind of we know the crux, I think, of this industry, and we've been around it a while. I think this is only a new thing. Like what we're doing is pretty new. And obviously we know that people want to hear about players and things like that. But I've said before, I mean, with the NBA, I mean, really anything outside of college sports, but it's starting to even become very true in college. If you strictly just bet numbers in college, even you'll make money. A lot of people don't know this stuff. And then you're probably a fan. So of course you know who it is, but
Jeff, I think you're right. I mean, my mentors back in the day at Don Best, some of the guys did media stuff, but the guys that were really the numbers guys, the guys that were spending 40 hours a week on their power ratings, showing me how to actually do all of the math behind the scenes, that I was just completely mind blown. I guarantee cannot name 5 college basketball players because they don't care. They don't watch games. Their math. I literally had a man tell me, I don't care. The math is the math. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
That's the truth.
My number is, he told me his number is the most important number to him. He is smarter than the books. And I'm like,
and that's okay. What I hear. Like, I definitely like hearing when like the smarter people are on the side I like, but I've often said, like, I think I'm pretty smart too. So I'm willing to kind of just do what I do. And look, I do think in college players are more important than maybe the pros, but
absolutely.
Again, I also know that I look into recruiting. I do know who some of these people are, but I know most people don't. And the truth is, man, like, I think probably people outside the SEC probably don't, and the ones that are just getting into basketball, they probably don't even know who he is until the other night. One of my favorite people on the planet. Good to see you, Gabe. I hope you're well, man. Seriously, it's been a long time. I've known Gabe forever. I know you know Gabe. We all know Gabe. Thank you, brother.
Hi, Gabe.
I got to get in touch with Gabe. Maybe
Gabe,
you don't.
if you haven't watched Gabe's show, we laugh about Gabe probably once in a month in our group chat. My good friend Ariel worked with him at Sports Grid. Yeah. And like some of the stories that he tells, or he just goes off the rails.
I'll tell you, Kelly,
it is just wild. He's a wild man.
He's one of the and I've met a lot of people doing this in gambling. He's one of the nicest people. He's been through a lot of stuff in his life.
Of course he's gonna be nice.
Yeah.
Have you ever met a mean Canadian? I don't know if I have.
He's got a lot of stories. He's just, been in the game a long time. I love Gabe, man. I still remember on Fremont Street, him and he was out smoking, and we were just out talking on the strip there at Fremont Street. Good dude. All right. So yeah, lean Richmond here, especially if you can grab a 9.5. This is probably the big game of the night, at least for your normal fans, the ones that don't care about Queens College and Lipscomb, people like you.
Yes.
Xavier is a 1.5-point favorite against Seton Hall. It's back and forth. It's been 1.5. It's been down to 1. Another game where you have a ranked team on the road against an unranked team. The unranked team at home is in revenge. Let me tell you something, though, about this first game, Kelly. 73-70 Xavier. Fremantle had 23 points. Fremantle was not in this game tonight. Throw in the fact Nunji may not play. Xavier is really beat up right now. They don't have a ton of depth. I think the other night they only went with 7 kids. Throw in the fact you're on the road on a Friday against a team right now that really is desperate for big wins. I mean, you got to get big wins if you're Seton Hall. And I'll tell you, I think if there's a time to back Seton Hall, it's been the second half of the season. They've obviously been significantly better. And I know lately you're really not going to see that, though. I thought they were pretty good against Connecticut, against the top echelon of this conference. For the most part, they've been pretty good. And they do a couple of things well. They're very good defensively. They get to the free throw line. And I just feel like this is, again, a game where I'm always going to be on the home team here. I think this is a desperation spot for Seton Hall. And I think they get the job done here. I played Seton Hall plus 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. Seton Hall is... Well, they're in the Big East, and that's one thing that I know, that I do not know this conference. I tried to handicap this conference, and I might as well just thrown it all out the window. I have been so wrong. So I hope that me also leaning with Seton Hall isn't the kiss of death for you, because Seton Hall's really owned them. Xavier's covered 5 of their last 16 versus Seton Hall. For whatever reason, this team has their number. Seton Hall concerns me. They don't shoot the ball particularly well. We know they can't make a freaking free throw to save their lives. I'm hoping for your sake here at home that they get the job done and win the game for you.
Look, right now with them, they have to you have to win games. They're not in the NCAA tournament picture at this point. They need to win. I don't know if they'll get there, but again, games like this at home, I'm willing to grab them here. This kind of reminds me a bit of that game they had back in January. They were at home against Connecticut. They were dogs and they beat them. I think this is one where Xavier, I don't think it'll knock them much. I still think they're a good team. They just kind of beat up right now. So I'm going to back the Hall here. I think they get the job done here. All right. Fred said, I waved at you at the game. You totally didn't saw me and didn't wave back. No, I mean, if I really cared about being famous, I don't care. I didn't even tell people I was going to the game with anyone. I probably didn't wave back because I didn't see you. Do you think I'm actually that much of a douche where I wouldn't say hello to someone that said hello to me? I mean, I don't know if some of you folks are on some fucking other planet or what, but again,
that's so funny.
My guess is you weren't even at the game. You're just weirdly here on a Friday afternoon.
He's left over from the soccer show.
Yeah, maybe. Chief, is that you?
Is this Chief's burner account? I love Chief. He texted me today.
No,
I don't check my Twitter DMs. I'm just done checking them. And so Chief must have had a question about what game I was betting, and he texted today. And I was very this close to being like, get off the YouTube so we can start the show. But I was nice and did not.
Dalton saying Jeff was dragging Brandon's Miller his name through the mud all week. He defended Chris Beard, but called for Nado's head, and Miller dropped 40. It's funny because interestingly enough, the only people that were not dragging Brandon Miller were goofy people from Alabama who care more about basketball
fans were the only ones defending him.
Yeah, the young woman dying. Listen, I know everyone's going to pretend to be big time rule followers because they care about him so much because he's important to their precious basketball team. Listen, I don't care what anyone says. Everyone is on my side. It's the right way to be. I didn't defend Chris Beard. If you can find any recollection of that, I'd like to hear it. I think the only thing I did say is I think when it comes to certain cases, and that's the thing most people don't understand as idiots that don't understand the law, there are certain cases and every case is different, and it's important that you get the details. The truth of the matter is if you read the details involving Brandon Miller's responsibility in the case, it was clear from every level of law enforcement and the team themselves that Brandon Miller definitely transported a weapon and someone was killed. That is not to be trifled with, and that is not hearsay. That is fact, okay? That's what's important here. And I don't live in speculation. I don't live in a dream world. I live in what we do know, and that's what we do know. My problem with Nate Oates was, again, with what everyone else agreed with, is how he handled the situation.
Do you think there was a PR person? Seriously, because I always wonder this. Like, I always try to take the side of the truth, and I think honesty is the best. Let's use my firing from ESPN. I put out a statement. Here's what happened. Here's what they said happened. Somewhere in the middle is the actual truth, and here's my opinion, and here's yours, right? And so what I don't understand is I think if Nate Oates came out and told the truth, as opposed to dancing around and using terms like wrong place, wrong time, then I think that maybe people would have not obliterated him for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think if he'd have just dealt with it like a normal human being at the beginning, I think it would have been fine. He was kind of thrown out there. He said some things he shouldn't have said. And we've moved on from this situation. I don't know why we're still talking about it. I guess Alabama fans are just so worried about what I have to say about their team. I think what the kid did, I also said I don't think he should pay for it the rest of his life. He's going to have to hear about it the rest of the year. And I think the way you handled it, I think sets a really bad example for your team going forward. But that said, again, I know some of you folks don't seem to understand how I work. I work in what I know, and I don't think I've ever gotten away from that. So, again, Dalton, man, you always seem to have a problem with what we're saying in here. I don't know why you watch, man. You don't seem like you really like the content. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But hey, thanks for being here every day, bro. Let's get into the next game. What do we say? Oh, Kelly, this is going to be a game right up your alley. But no, I'm going to bring it up. And I want to just tell you about this game.
Okay, perfect.
Today is the final day of Atlantic Sun play. Okay, this conference is done after today. And what they do is essentially, I believe they have 10 teams that make the tournament. There are a couple of teams today that the game means absolutely nothing. Like Central Arkansas is playing today. They cannot make the tournament in the Atlantic Sun. Their season is over after today. Now, there are a couple different clinching scenarios, things like that. Queens is pretty much locked into where they are. Okay. They can move up, I think, from 9th to 8th, but really doesn't matter much. Liberty can win this conference with another team losing. So I think there's going to be a lot of reason for Liberty, A, to win this game handily, and B, just because I think they're significantly better than Queens. Queens is a new conference team this year. They came over from a lower division. They actually just played Liberty 2 nights ago and gave up 85 points and hung around in the game. But I think this game's a little bit different. I think hence the reason for the line move here. So this really was a game I wanted to bring up just because know what you're betting if you're betting A-Sun tonight. There's a lot of A-Sun games. Northern Alabama plays, one of my favorite teams. Kennesaw plays a good team. Teams have kind of different clinching scenarios. So make sure you find out what you're betting into. People will ask me, what would I play here? I would lean on Liberty's team total over. Queens lets you do whatever you want on defense. They just let you run up and down. That was evident in the game the other night where they give up 85. They've given up, I think, 80 or more in 4 of the last 5 games. Liberty's really efficient. They're really good. I think they're going to have every reason to want to score as many points as possible in this game tonight. So I'd maybe look towards that. I kind of like this one similar to the way I liked South Dakota State last night. Maybe even a full game over here. I think there's a reason that the number's been moving up. Kelly, any thoughts?
No thoughts. I actually, I was listening to you, but I was looking at something for tomorrow. The lines are out right now at the Barstool Sportsbook, and I like to compare, I guess we'll call them the world openers. I think that's such a stupid way to say it, but they don't open in Vegas anymore. So I can't call it what Vegas opened it. But I think there's been some really interesting line moves already. So I was just taking down a couple of notes so that I could remember to revert back to them tomorrow during our Spaces session.
Yeah, but as far as this, I would, if you're betting into A-Sun tonight, just know kind of what the situation you're betting into, what teams need, what teams don't need. I think all that stuff's real important. Jay Daniel, thank you for watching. Matt Meyer makes a good point. Why would kids separate their fandom from reality?
I mean, are these adult kids? Because these are like 40,
true.
50, 60-year-old men.
That's true.
I'm not going to lie. Speaking of Brandon Walker from earlier, I went through, because he kind of got after the Alabama fans. And I went through and I was just reading the comments. And I'm like, oh, my God.
I saw, but believe me, I got a ton of them. And they are really – as I get older, Kelly, and I've said this, I'm fascinated by the lengths fans will go to protect. And this is even sports. This isn't even sports, but I remember one of the funny things I heard, and it always makes me laugh when I hear about it. One of these political pundits at one point said something about Trump fans. And he said Trump could kill someone on Fifth Avenue and they would still defend him. And it's like, I think we're living in a world where you're willing to put away ethical thoughts on certain things. You're saying oh, we need more of this or we need more of that. It's well, no, it's just kind of a scummy situation. You probably just shouldn't want to be connected to it at any point. There's nothing other than probably my family that I'd be willing to kind of give away my dignity for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and most of them I wouldn't either. I mean, maybe 3 or 4 members of my family, but most of them I'm not even willing to do that for.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's I'm blown away at sometimes where people will literally throw away everything they know and love about life just to defend a total scumbag, right? And the comment I hear all the time, Kelly, is, well, you do this mafia show and you make them look like heroes. And it's well, no, I've said many times, I think they're the worst types of people on the planet, right?
I mean,
it's kind of just don't throw away your ethics to defend someone that just doesn't really care about you anyway.
Or even know who you are.
Yeah. It's
you think Brandon Miller knows who any of these fans are that are so odd. Here's the word that Jeff loves, simp. They're simping for Brandon Miller.
It's so weird.
Why?
Yeah. It's
I don't get it.
Do you think he'd care at all? It's so weird. These people literally beat up people because of their allegiance to a sports team. And it's they're wild. Literally it's weird. I don't get it.
I told you about my experience in Jacksonville and I'm you people are nuts, man. I'm sorry you live in Jacksonville, Florida, hillbilly heaven, but I don't care about this football game outside of covering the 6.5. Everybody relax. I
No,
thought I
it's
was like gonna have to watch my back going to the bathroom.
well, Rochelle Ryan was telling me last night. We're at the game. She was telling me like she said she was surprised that like Philly fans were nicer at like Sixer games, and she was telling me about going to the link
Oh yeah,
as a Giants fan, and it's like
yeah. The link is yeah.
and I told the story when I was at the Niner game. Like you have like people like throwing shit like other fans. I said to the one guy, I said, dude, like you're a fucking punk motherfucker. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like you're a grown adult throwing shit at people. Like I get kind of blown away at some
I
of
think
them.
the biggest thing is as alcohol at the sporting events. I mean, you're already an asshole, but alcohol just tells you it's okay, right? Like it just gives you the like, oh, just go ahead. That guy ain't gonna do anything to you. Especially when you're an outside fan, you're outnumbered like hundreds to one. Like, what are you gonna do? You can think you've seen some of these stadium fights. They're nuts.
Yeah. No, I know.
And I've definitely been mouthy at a stadium. Don't get me wrong. I have definitely shared some words, but like if some grown man balled up his fist and knocked me off like the stairs, like I can't imagine what I mean, if I'm an opposing fan, what's the people that I'm with going to do? Three of them versus 40 of them? Like it's tough. It's tough.
I know. Let's go through one more. Late night, Nevada.
Yep. This is the one I've been waiting for.
Yeah, this one looks this is hard, man, because I really like Nevada. I really do. I love their coach. I like their team, but I do only like them really at home, right? But they're great as a favorite. They're great on the road. Really doesn't matter. I also do like Fresno. I've said that before. I think Justin Dutcher's a really good coach, or Justin Hudson's a really good coach. Brian Dutcher's guy at San Diego State. Hudson, he's a really good coach. They've had some giant slings this year. They beat New Mexico. I think
UNLV both times.
Yeah.
UNLV got swept by them.
I think their guard play is really good. They have a kid, Isaiah Hill. He's really good. I like Jamari Baker as well. I actually like this team. Look, if you're going to give me 3.5 here, I have some interest in the Bulldogs. I think this is a good spot.
I love this spot for them. Look, you got this Nevada team. Like you and I have been singing their praises, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, that's at home. And we start to see where sometimes you start paying a premium for certain teams. Of course, Nevada's covered their 5 of their last 6. We know exactly what we're getting from this team. They've covered 18 games this year. That's just nuts. I would not have guessed that they were going to be this good, especially as a cover machine. Now, granted, a lot of those were as an underdog. Now we're asking them to be a favorite. And if the favorite roll on the road, they're about 50%. They're 6-5. It's not anything particular to write home about. My only concern with Fresno is that their three-point play is just atrocious. And they've got to hit a couple shots. But the good news is they make their free throws. They're going to force Nevada to really slow down tempo-wise. And I think that this is like, to quote Jeff Nadu, first to 65 wins.
Yeah, I think it's a low score. I agree. I think it's a lower scoring game. Obviously, listen, I will say, like, Fresno doesn't shoot threes. They're not good at them either, but they don't really shoot them. So it's like I'm okay with that a lot of the time. Like, I prefer a team. Like, I would love a team to shoot the ball well from 3, like, honestly. But
if it's listen, if you're not good at it, let's use Missouri as an example, right? Or Arkansas. If you're not good at it, why do you take so many 3-point shots? You're right. That's what Fresno does. They're going to get down low. They're going to get in the paint. They're going to get that easy bunny. They're going to get that jumper. They're going to get that easy layup. That's what they're trying to go for, as opposed to going, 18% from 3.
You just look at the schematics here, right? Like Nevada, how often, like, teams don't make teams attempt threes. I think they're bottom 50 in America in that metric. So they're kind of let you run your offense in the half court. I feel like this is a decent matchup, especially for kind of a gutsy, tough Fresno team who, look, I'm not going to tell you they have the greatest home court advantage, but they have a decent home court. I mean, it's Friday night. I mean, there ain't much to do in that area. So
no, it's definitely is a college town. I mean, I have a couple buddies that went to school there. They do get up for football games and they get up for basketball games. Hopefully, this is one of those spots where Justin Hudson can get them to pack the Save Mart Center or something ridiculous.
Yes, Save Mart Center.
One of those.
It's called the Save Mart Center still. Yes.
Is that what it is? Okay, I thought so, but it's funny. I have not been, but I have been told, at least by some good friends, that it can get a little rowdy. Let's hope it's really rowdy tonight and Fresno can get the outright win.
Have you ever been to Save Mart ever?
No, I've never been to
I will
Fresno.
tell you, I've always said this. I think there are some really rough places to go, like the Save Marts, Dollar
Like Laramie,
Generals.
Wyoming.
No, they're just like rough. Like no one wants to be there. Everyone hates their life. Like Dollar Tree. You ever go to those places? They're
Oh, you mean the stores, not the
yeah,
arenas.
yeah, like the
Oh,
stores.
I mean, the last time I went to a Dollar Tree was to take my nieces to get a bunch of crap because
Yeah, that's like
it's
the only
Dollar
reason you
Tree.
would go there, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah, it's
they're
like, oh, okay, well, thank you for helping me do whatever, and I'm gonna take you here. Because if you go to Target or Hobby Lobby, you're not getting out of it for anything less than $200. Facts.
yeah, they're just kind of weird places, man. Like they're just kind of they're always in like random rural areas. You see like a Dollar General. It's just
Well, definitely in the South. You
yeah,
will be in the middle of nowhere, and then there's a Dollar General store.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's cheap too. It's like there's always a ton of McDonald's everywhere because they're cheap
Yeah.
and people eat there. But you always never pay $1. That's kind of the scammy thing about it.
I think my niece did tell me that the other night when she said something because I asked how her grades were going to be for this like quarter. And she goes, well, you're not going to take me to Dollar Tree anymore anyway, because they're now $1.25. And I go, oh, am I that cheap? She thinks I'm like the cheapest person on the planet. I'm like, you have no idea,
You're not
kid.
wrong. They try to sell it like everything's $1, and it's like, well, no, it isn't. Like, it's not $1, but
I think it's funny.
whatever. Do I have any thoughts on North Alabama? Yeah, listen, I don't really think I need to give them any thoughts. I mean, I would probably play them. The other night, if you played them, you'd lose. But look, I think long term, they're a team to back. And this is the last game of the season, though. So I guess for me, I didn't love it. I mean, I think it's worth a bet, but I'm not going nuts under or telling you it's the best play on the board. All right. Other than that, I think for me, I mean, I like Seton Hall tonight as a dog, and I like Fresno as a dog. Those are
we're in agreement there with Fresno. I gave a hard look at Air Force. UNLV's dropped 3 straight. I feel like they've all but packed it in. Granted, I'm not getting a lot of intel out of University of Nevada, Las Vegas anymore because all my guys are gone. But this UNLV team has just really been struggling. Air Force, as I mentioned, I'd love to back. They just got their asses kicked at home to Fresno State, and not asses kicked. They lost by 5. But you get the point. Every once in a while, they can string together a win. I lean Air Force tonight at UNLV, but I don't think I'm going to ultimately get to the window with them.
There you go. And I know you've been kind of, back and forth on Air Force and that kind of thing.
They're just kind of frustrating. I'm not going to lie to you. To back this team, they play really slow. They should be hitting those outside shots, and then they don't. Anytime I back them, it doesn't. I backed them against, what was it? Nevada. On the road, got obliterated because, Nevada at home. And then I wanted to back them again another time. I think it was like maybe versus New Mexico. It was just, they've been frustrating. And overall, there's certain teams that I mentioned on the show I want to back, and certain teams I just don't want to be a part of. And unfortunately, Air Force is part of that mix at this point in time.
I have a game tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm just going to tell you right now.
I'm going to get all my games for tomorrow ready.
That I think might be my favorite game of the year. I don't say that much. I really like a game tomorrow, and I'm going to be all.
Are you going to give us a sneak peek?
No.
Can you tell me which conference?
No, because you would know right away.
You can't even tell me which conference. I will say this. Here's some.
Here's what I'll say. I'll just say it's a West Coast matchup. It's somewhere west of Chicago.
Somewhere west of Chicago. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I've got 9 games on my list for tomorrow. I will narrow it down over the next 10 or 15 hours and let you guys know on the spaces tomorrow morning. But just to update, fading ranked teams catching points now 31-16 against the spread. There's a couple of games that fit that system for tomorrow. And the Southland, this is not my stat, but I will give it to you.
That's one of my favorite conferences.
And that's why I wrote it down today during the show. I was like, this is for Jeff. The Southland Conference, the worst home dogs. The entire conference is the worst home dogs. And we all know I love to back home dogs. That's why that little tidbit was given to me. Just stay away from the Southland Conference. And I've got some play on spots and a couple other teams that I'm looking at for tomorrow as well.
Yeah, I've really had success on Saturdays for the most part. I had one bad Saturday, but for the most part, it's just been I like Saturdays because I can run and hide. I can find little spots and I don't have to, it's all about, there what, 130 games on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So
and you can really sift through it. and like isolate some certain spots. I mean, granted, obviously I'm looking at all, Power 5 schools outside of 2. So everything on my list is Big 12, Big 10, SEC, ACC. Couple of really fun spots tomorrow. Mississippi State catching only 1 to the hottest team in the SEC right now. A&M covered 7 straight. Doesn't look fishy at all.
Shout out Chris Jans.
Yeah, right. I was jotting down just a few lines. I thought Purdue, totally thought you wanted to bet it now when it opened 8. Now it's down to 7.5.
See, but I like 7.5. I'll play Purdue. I think they beat Indiana badly.
You know what that game reminds me of? And I'm going to reiterate this tomorrow in the Spaces. It reminds me of K-State KU, in-state rivalry, so Indiana won beat Purdue when they were number 1. And now it's a revenge spot, which I always say you can't quantify, but it looks like I could have swore I was like, nope, this game's going to 9, 9.5. So when it moved to 7.5, I was like, that's a little fishy, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it has a lot to do with just kind of the state of Purdue right now and where they are, but it seems like a good bounce back. They remember a couple Saturdays ago, they lost, obviously, to Indiana at home.
Yeah, I was on Indiana. Yeah, we'll see. I gave out a best bet, which I'll give out tomorrow because it's just going one way. Open 6.5. It's 8, 8.5 already. And that's what I said on the other show.
Maybe I won't be betting this game as much as I wanted to.
Oh,
really? I was hoping the line would be a little lower. That's
are we talking about the one that went from 1.5 to 4?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
Yeah. It opened and it was gone.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to tell you guys right now. I'm going to be finding, I'm going to bridge jump on this game.
Okay.
And I'm going to just find a huge favorite that I know will win. And I'm going to parlay it with Gonzaga money line.
Yeah.
I don't want to link 185.
Gonzaga opened -1. It was when I started the show and when I got off of it, it was 4. I couldn't believe that.
That's the thing about openers. I don't think that's the real opener. Who actually bets those?
Okay, so here's always the
I've always wondered about that with gambling. Who actually bets those?
So we work for a company that owns a sportsbook, which now is actually owned by a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So I have to be careful when I bash bookmakers. And this is not a bash. This is an industry-wide thing. This has nothing to do with Barstool. This has nothing to do with Vegas books. This is just facts. When they put out these opening numbers, sometimes, Jeff, they're just testing the water because they know that the sharpest of the sharp are either sitting at their computer with their apps open or they're waiting at the sportsbook at the window. And when these lines come out, they let these guys have $250 on totals and $500 on sides. They adjust. They let them bet it again. They adjust. They let them bet it again. And then it's almost like, then here's the actual number. It's like they allow the market to almost correct itself. It's not like you're being limited. It's just they don't allow big wagers.
Yeah.
In the first 30, 45 minutes, these lines are out.
I'll be real. I mean, I was hoping we'd get 2.5 here. We'll see.
We may see some comeback. I mean, St. Mary's is about the only team. Well, they've had other losses, but traditionally they're the only team in the West Coast Conference that can give Gonzaga fits. And I think it's really interesting. Yeah, they did. But in St. Mary's, Seattle's a tough place to play, and it's a late night special. I don't blame you for liking the Zags.
It's Spokane. You got to get that right.
Oh, Spokane. Yes, I'm so sorry. Yes,
you wouldn't want someone to be upset.
Yeah, I know. Correct. I'm sorry. Wrong S in Washington. Should have been a geography major. I apologize.
All good. By the way, Seattle's a cool town. The home of grunge, Nirvana. Some of those.
Never been.
All right, we're out of here. I got to go work out.
Good idea.
Kelly, I'll tell you right now. I just talked to you guys about adults acting like stupid. You should have saw me about an hour ago at the district magistrate. Wasn't good. I got the good old, do we need to call an officer twice? I said, call an officer. I don't give a shit. I said, I'm tired of this fucking nonsense. Yeah, I flipped the fuck out. But we got to figure it out.
Okay.
Don't threaten me with constables. I don't give a shit about constables.
Oh, the world we live in.
There should have been a camera.
There's a lot of tough guys out there that are not tough.
No, I was just listen. I'm not going to get into it because whatever. I'm going to go. Kelly, good to see you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Great to see you. We'll see you in the morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Sorry for those on the West Coast. You got to get up early. We'll see you then with some best bets.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. I like Seton Hall and I like Fresno tonight.
Let's go, Dogs.
See you, everybody. Later.